boil in the bag, jelly in a rabbit mold, and mash that came out of a box. If you grew up in Britain in the 1970s, food was weird but unforgettable. It didn't try to be fancy, it just filled the plate. Bright colors, strange textures, and flavors that made no sense, yet somehow made your day. And whether it came from the freezer, the tin, or the back of your nan's cupboard, you probably still remember the taste. In this video, we're serving up 15 classic British foods from the 70s. If any of these bring back memories, give this video a like and tuck in. Arctic roll, frozen luxury on a budget. A sponge cake, some jam, a tube of vanilla ice cream. Simple, cold, brilliant. If your mum pulled one of these out after Sunday dinner, it felt like a proper event. You knew it had been sitting in the freezer all week, next to the peas and the fish fingers, but somehow it still felt like dessert with a capital D. The slices were never even. Someone always ended up with the thin one, and someone got the jackpot with the thickest swirl. And no matter how carefully you tried to eat it, the sponge would always go soggy before you finished. You didn't just eat Arctic roll, you waited for it, watched it melt, and tried to time every bite just right. It was messy, sweet, and absolutely perfect. Angel Delight, a pudding made of powder and dreams. Open the packet, pour in the milk, whisk like mad. Angel Delight was the closest thing to alchemy a British kitchen had in the 70s. It wasn't mousse, it wasn't custard, it was Angel Delight. Soft, fluffy, slightly artificial, and completely irresistible. Flavors like banana or butterscotch didn't taste like actual fruit, but somehow they tasted like home. You could almost judge a household by which flavor they stocked. Served in glass bowls, always cold, and if you were lucky, with sprinkles or a flake on top. It was the pudding equivalent of a hug. Smash, the instant mash that defined a decade. Real mashed potato took effort. Smash took boiling water, a fork, and a willingness to believe this really was food. The granules never fully dissolved, but no one cared. The lumps were part of the experience. And then there were the ads, those laughing Martian robots mocking us for peeling real potatoes like fools. It made Smash feel modern, clever, even a bit futuristic. The taste? Powdery, a bit salty, strangely comforting. It didn't matter that it didn't taste like mash. It tasted like 1975. Findus crispy pancakes. Dinner with a crunch and a burn. There was nothing quite like biting into a crispy pancake without knowing if it would scald your tongue or still be frozen in the middle. And somehow that was part of the fun. They came in flavors like minced beef, chicken curry, and ham and cheese, though the contents were often a mystery once cooked. The real star was the golden crumb coating. Crunchy on the outside, lava on the inside, and completely addictive. You could smell them the moment they hit the grill pan. That unmistakable scent of processed goodness. And if the edges caught and blackened a bit, even better. For a generation of kids, it was the highlight of a weeknight tea. Quick, cheap, and just a little bit rebellious. Vesta Chow, Chinese-ish cuisine, British style. It came in a cardboard box with dried noodles in one pouch and powdered sauce in another. Vesta Chow promised the taste of the Orient, as interpreted by someone from Wolverhampton. The process felt like science class. Rehydrate this, deep fry that, stir and hope for the best. But when it all came together, it actually tasted brilliant, or at least interesting. It was exotic for its time, salty, crunchy, oddly sweet, and full of little dehydrated vegetables that came back to life just enough. No one really knew what chow mein was meant to taste like, but for a brief, glorious moment in the 70s, Vesta made us feel like we were eating something sophisticated. Heinz toast toppers, lunch, reimagined in a tin. There's something very British about opening a tin labelled prawn cocktail and spreading it on toast. Heinz toast toppers made it normal, with flavours like ham and cheese, mushroom or yes, seafood. They were a miracle of food engineering and mild recklessness. Soft, savoury sludge that turned a slice of white bread into a full meal, allegedly. The texture was questionable, the flavour surprisingly addictive. You grilled it, watched it bubble, then tried to eat it before the toast turned to mush. It was convenient, it was strange, it was oddly comforting, and somehow it was never in short supply. Spotted Dick, a name we laughed at, a pudding we loved. It was the punchline of every school dinner joke, but behind the name, Spotted Dick was a proper British classic. A dense sweat sponge flecked with dried fruit, the spots steamed to perfection and drowned in custard. It wasn't light, it wasn't delicate, but it filled you up in the best way possible. You didn't eat it, you tackled it, one forkful at a time, steam rising, custard dripping over the edge of the plate. Served in canteens, kitchens and cafes, it was always warm, always heavy, and always hit the spot. And despite the sniggers, no one ever left a crumb behind. Pork dripping on toast, pure working-class gold. Before avocado toast made headlines, there was this: pork dripping on white bread, still warm, still glistening, taken straight from the Sunday roast tray, poured into a jar, and saved for Monday morning. It was real thrift, real flavor, and real satisfaction. You spread it thick, sprinkled it with salt, maybe added a bit of the jelly that formed at the bottom if you were brave. It was rich, greasy, salty, and in that moment, it felt like the best thing you'd ever tasted. No packaging, no brand name, just pure British fuel for the day ahead. Blancmange, jelly's weirder, wobbly cousin. It wobbled when you touched it. It jiggled when you didn't. Blancmange looked like a science experiment, but tasted like a childhood treat. Usually pink, sometimes green, always vaguely fruity. It was the dessert of birthday parties, buffets, and school halls with the heating turned up too high. Poured into rabbit or castle molds, turned out onto paper plates, and surrounded by cheers from a table full of excited kids. You weren't sure what it was made of, but that didn't matter. It was cool, sweet, and went down in 3 spoonfuls flat. Battenberg Cake, the pink and yellow masterpiece. No birthday, Sunday tea, or Nan's biscuit tin felt complete without a slice of Battenberg. The pink and yellow check, wrapped in a snug layer of marzipan, made it instantly recognizable and just a little bit posh. Each bite was soft, sweet, and slightly almondy, and if the slices weren't cut just right, you could end up with more yellow than pink, a minor tragedy at the tea table. You didn't eat Battenberg casually. You arranged it on a plate, made a cup of tea, and felt like royalty for 10 minutes. Whether it came from a bakery or a plastic tray at the supermarket, it was always more than just cake. It was a ritual. Tinned ravioli, Italian, via your Nan's pantry. It came in a tin. You poured it into a saucepan, heated it, stirred it. Dinner done, tinned ravioli was soft, squishy, and swimming in a sauce that was suspiciously sweet. But that never stopped you going back for seconds. It wasn't Italian, it wasn't authentic, but it was warm, comforting, and made you feel strangely grown up. Served in deep bowls on school nights, sometimes with a slice of bread to mop up the last bits. It wasn't gourmet, but for many, it was the first taste of foreign food, and somehow it stuck. Butterscotch Tart, the school pudding we still dream about. Served on beige plastic trays with a jug of lumpy custard beside it, Butterscotch Tart was school dinner gold. The filling was smooth, sweet, and impossibly shiny. like someone had lacquered it. The base? A crumbly short crust that somehow held its shape no matter how much custard you poured on top. You could smell it before you saw it. It silenced noisy lunch halls in a way few things could. And if you managed to get seconds, that was your whole week made. Blackcurrant Cordial, the drink of every childhood kitchen. It sat in the cupboard, tall and sticky, with a cap that never quite closed properly. Blackcurrant Cordial wasn't a drink, it was the drink. Diluted by eye, never measured, and almost always too strong or too weak. It stained your fingers, your lips, your school jumper, and probably the wallpaper too. You drank it after playing outside, with tea, with toast, with everything. Sometimes with lemonade if you were feeling fancy, sometimes neat on a dare. Sweet, sharp and unforgettable. This wasn't juice. This was childhood in a glass. Gala Pie, cold cuts with ambition. Half pork pie, half boiled egg. Gala Pie was the king of buffet tables and picnic baskets across Britain. It looked like a cross-section of a landscape. Golden pastry, pink meat, a bright white ring and yellow yolk in the middle. Neatly sliced and served with mustard or on a paper plate at a family do. It always came with that weird layer of jelly no one liked but no one scraped off, because you respected the pie. You didn't eat Gala Pie warm. You ate it from the fridge with a fork while standing up in a kitchen full of noise, and it never let you down. Instant whip, dessert in less than a minute. Whip, chill, done. Instant whip was pudding for people who didn't want to wait. It came in a sachet, turned into fluffy sugar cloud with milk and a whisk, and disappeared in about 3 spoonfuls flat. Strawberry, chocolate, banana, they all kind of tasted the same, and that was fine. You weren't there for nuance. You were there for the sugar hit. Served in Tupperware, always slightly too cold, with peaks that never quite set. It was quick, it was sweet, and honestly, it was brilliant.